Saunders Lakeland Mountain Marathon with Neil and
Claire.
Second year we've done it. First year we did the beginners class. This year we're doing the score course. Because last year Steve Birkinshaw was in the men's winning team, Sabrina Vergy was in the women's winning team. Had to go head to head with them, we thought. Well, we're out here on the far eastern fells looking for a re-entrant. And a re-entrant, for those who don't know, is a feature on the mountains that you can't see until you're stood in it. There you go. Don't make our mistake. Listen to Tea and Trails with Eddie and Gary.
Hello. And welcome to episode 109 of the Tea and Trails podcast. Thanks, Neil and Claire. Hope you found your re-entrant. What is this? Because you never share these intros with me. Lovely and very informative Saunders Lakeland Mountain Marathon intro.
They explain what the re-entrant is on.
What is is this children friendly? What is the re-entrant?
It is PG. It's PG. I think it's something that, if I understood it correctly, you don't see it.
No, you never see it. That's the thing.
Until you're on it. That's what
hey! Sorry, Neil and Claire, we ruined your intro. Keep them coming to email hello@teaandtrails.com.
A big thank you to all our patrons, and for the price of a decent cuppa, you are the ones that keep this sensational content flowing. Many thanks to our partners too. Check them out over at Patreon. They support the podcast by providing a discount code for countless running goodies. Join any Patreon tier, pay annually, and you'll receive 10% off your subscription, and we'll pop a snood in the post. Also, pop over to Summit Crazy if you would like to buy some awesome Tea and Trails merch. Thanks to all the recent members. It does ebb and flow over on Patreon. And just when I think it's sad times, it turns around.
Oh.
People start joining again. And don't forget, if you want a snood or a hat, then you will need to add your address to Patreon. No address, no goodies.
If they leave, you've got their address, do you go around and knock on their door? And do you do the when you try and leave like Sky or Vodafone or something, and they go, well, we could do you a better deal. And you end up like, could I not had that deal before?
It's funny, I do see who's left. I get a little notification. I see in a period of 30 days, I see how many people have joined and how many people have left, and you scroll through and you think, oh, sad to see you go.
Especially when it's Lisa or Bryn.
I've ordered some new snoods though, so we've got about 10 in stock. So if new patrons are wondering where my snoods are, they're on the way.
I have a OG snood from right back where it all began, and then the other day I cracked open a recent order, and they're a different colour, they're a different feel, they're almost a different length. It's like starting a new relationship with somebody that I wasn't quite prepared, but we started it slow, and I thought, you need a wash, you need a bit of a wash, you feel a bit too clean, we need some snot on you, we need some gels.
I always feel bad though, because we do have the snoods there, and I could dip into the little cookie jar and take a fresh snood for myself.
I know. I see. Oh, I've got the books. Don't you go?
It's like if you're a landlord of a pub, and if you're a landlord of a pub, and you start peanuts and pints, it'll ruin your business.
When I used to work behind the bar in a pub, the peanuts were my downfall.
Oh, this is gross. Were people still allowed to smoke when you worked in a pub?
Yeah, they must have, but I don't remember it because I was a teenager, so I was probably like, yeah, cool, yeah, do whatever you want, man.
Do whatever you want. I remember watching some bar staff cleaning up at the end of the night, and they had to wipe all the ashtrays.
Oh, yeah, I do remember wiping. But do you know what we used to do? We just got a wet cloth and just wipe. I mean, their hygiene was the lowest.
Then wipe the surfaces down.
We just used the same cloth, and I can still remember the smell. Happy days. Thank you to XMiles Precision Fuel Hydration, Harrier Trail Running, Phoenix Light UK, and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. We use their products week after week to help us train, hydrate, and recover. If you need a headphone upgrade, use the code TEA10 for £10 off over at UKSHOKZ.com. Big shout, a big shout. Let's hear it to XMiles for supporting us for 2025. Pop over to XMiles for all your nutrition and kit needs. There are lots of brands to choose from. We love their nutrition planner, and there are loads of insights and articles shared too. Go on then, share your nutrition. This is fascinating stuff, guys. Don't tune out. Stay with us. Stay with us.
I was looking at my old County Tops nutrition plan, and then because we spoke to Keith and Hugh the other day, now Keith is record holder for Swaledale Marathon, I thought I'd better prep my my nutrition plan for Swaledale Marathon. I did a test because a lot of these nutrition planners keep saying to me 60 grams of carbs, 60 grams of carb. That number comes up quite a lot. So for the nutrition planner over at XMiles, I pretended I think I was 100 kg, whatever that is in stones.
You don't need to pretend. It's a safe space here. Yeah, you just put in your weight. Yes.
Just put in my weight. Yeah, I've been the scales actually. It's not fun times. I just wanted to check if there's a little bit more meat on the bones for that algorithm if it wasn't just spitting out 60 grams every time. And yeah, for a heavier athlete, it prescribes more. Does
it give
carbs.
You the intensity that you're going to run this race at? Because surely that is exactly where the algorithm should be working.
Well, this is interesting. So that's something I've not done because all my races are kind of ultra distance. Maybe if I put a 5K in there.
Well, no, you redline from the start of every race, at least half an hour.
It asks what the race is, and then it asks you. It kind of qualifies that again by the distance of the race, what the time is that you're hoping to finish the race in.
Okay, so there might be something in the back end of it. Yeah.
Yes. And then it calculates the distance. But yeah, I put in, I was 100 kilograms, give me a lot more carbs to eat. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting, Edwina. And don't forget, patrons can receive 10% off over at www.xmiles.co.uk. Links to all our sponsors, Patreon and the Tea and Trails Ultra Weekend can be found in the show notes and over at www.teaandtrails.com. Entries are open for the Tea and Trails Ultra Weekend. I wonder if anybody did a Valentine's gift for their sweetheart. If you would like a weekend of trail running, entertainment, camping in the Lake District, then head over to www.teaandtrailsultra.com and get signed up. Thanks so much to everyone who's entered so far. Also, bring your family. If they are in the car with you, that is fine. They don't have to run. And if you would like to come, but you can't justify or afford the entry fee, then check out Area Events. Awesome volunteering opportunities. You can volunteer at any event and earn credits to put towards future events. It is such a great idea. Weekly deeds. I need a HR appointment, Eddie. My DMs, saucy pictures, hot and sweaty.
Have you sort of cropped them so it's just my head and you're just playing around with a bit of filter and Gary got the first ever message from me saying, "I'm naked." I think I got the sick emoji back and
just have me tea, for God's sake.
Somebody suggested in my family that perhaps what I was doing could be done outside because it wasn't particularly nice for everybody else in the house. So we moved the contraction outside, but then I realized I needed to be naked to get in and out. And the neighbors perhaps, again, didn't want to share. Maybe they did, but yeah, the body's not what it was, Gary.
It's brutal, isn't it? It's not fair.
It's been a good week. I finally got lungs. I think it was about Wednesday, I think it was, when I ran up a hill. No, I still was wearing my heart rate monitor and I was going heavy zone 3, just like a jog up the. I just could not control my heart rate still at the front end of the week. But definitely, finally, anyone that's had this winter, I've got a few athletes that have got it at the moment, and I'm just, baby Jesus always sends me these things to make me, pretty invincible, Gary. Again, knocks me down, but it also gives me a lot of empathy then, because normally when my athletes are ill, I'm like, come on, get out of it, you're fine. But loads of people seem to have had this winter flu, and it seems, especially if you're a runner, it's not just then the illness that seems to last a week, it's then the back end of the illness just doesn't go. So if you have had it and you're in that back end of the illness, I hear you. And it took me about a week, 10 days to finally lungs are back and I'm not finishing every run going that annoying post-exercise cough. So I took it pretty easy Mondays and Tuesdays, and I was getting a bit sad because that heart rate when I was running, easy run, it was just 10 beats higher, and it makes it so much harder. But played the patience game, did my strides, especially uphill strides now. I've been religiously doing them twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, because sometimes I forget if I've done them. And I'm like, have I done them? I can't remember. I had to throw them in. I really feel I going almost sub 5-minute mile pace on them now. I'm really getting back to the power. I don't dare look in the mirror at my glutes.
When they're on a hill, I don't mind so much, but I've got this little bit of stretch of road near where I live, and 20-second strides would get me to the end of the road with a little kind of jog down at the end. I'm not getting to the end of the road.
You're not quite there. Yeah, I've got the stick to the lamppost, and just that last bit, they're uphill. That last bit, but I definitely feel the difference when I'm running uphill now.
Yeah.
That everything just feels more engaged, and I'd like to say my easy running pace is coming down, but because of this illness, I think it's all just a bit of a blur at the moment. But I can feel the difference when I'm running, and my uphill treadmills, which I do religiously as well, differing variants of volume. I don't put a number on it because I'm always going to disappoint myself if I go, right, I'm always going to do this number of hours.
Yeah.
I try and do 2 hours of uphill treadmill, like easy recovery work a week, and it ends up being anything between half an hour and 2 hours. I'm like, as long as you've been on it. But I do think that makes a real big difference as well to my recovery. So instead of doing like a flat run, I heave it up to 10%. And the more you do it, I think I can talk my heart rate down as well. So it starts off and it goes up, and I'm like, no, come back down, and then hold. And I can really feel the difference when I'm running around here up and down the hills as well. And I really enjoy the change in variant of not just always doing the same. During the week when you have to do the same local runs, having the ability to switch up and go on the treadmill, which I know for some people is like awful, but I just love the fact that I've got it in the garage. And I did a massive session on Sunday on the treadmill. If I do one on the weekend, there is something in the garage that everybody will find that they need to come out and be around. Like, nobody goes in the garage at any point during the week, but if mum's out there, so they decided to fix the dartboard. This dartboard came with Bryn when I met him. So we're talking how many years ago? 30 years ago. And it's never been put up on a wall. And I cannot tell you the time and the pride it took to get that up on the wall. They were measuring out the line. They were the whole of my treadmill session, this dartboard, and then the pride of like, it's only you see, when I put things on my to-do list, I tick them off eventually.
Fair play though, Bryn's kept hold of that dartboard for all those years.
Amazing he has, considering I'm a chucker and we've moved house a number of times. He must have hid it so many times from me, going, she's not
going to have my dartboard.
I'm really glad he did now, because the kids are old enough that they love it. Obviously, Gary, I'd left my session till Sunday. I hadn't done it all week because I hadn't felt well. I'd given this treadmill session to one of my and he'd done it, and I was like, oh Eddie, you got no excuse, you gotta get on there. I'll tell you it because people love a session, don't they? So it was 20, 40, 60, so it was 4 by 20 minutes, all uphill. First 10 minutes at 12. Mine only goes up to 12%, my treadmill. If it could go higher, my God, I'd put it higher. But I think 12%, maybe 15%, 12%. For me, I can still run 12%. I think if I went up to 15, it would be quicker to hike.
Well, I'm technically running. When I go to 15%, my body is running, but I'm not.
Cadence is so slow, isn't it? So I think 12%, my cadence is still there. So I did 10 minutes at 12% at in my head, it was like easy, steady, but it was still not quite easy. Like, it was still. Then 5 minutes took it down to 10%, keeping a little bit faster, letting the heart rate go up by 10 beats, and then down to 5%. And I had 3 minutes at 5% at like what I would probably class as like a sort of half marathon pace, like out of breath, but you can hold this for 90 minutes. And then the last 2 minutes, 5K pace. Effort. And my deal with myself was that 2 minutes each of the 20-minute blocks had to be quicker than the previous block of 2 minutes.
Okay.
So.
And how much rest between the 20 minutes?
No rest. Then you go straight back down. So you're keeping your heart rate up. So as you go through, like the first 20 minutes, you're like, that's difficile. Oh, it's no problem for me. And then the next 20 minutes, because that heart rate hasn't gone back down, that 10 minutes, even though you're like, oh, the drift is coming. Third one, fourth one. And then because I always like to be an overachiever, I added 5 by 1 minute flat out at 10% proper hill strides at the end. I practiced within that though. I thought, right, you're gonna do this on the treadmill. Here we go. Here's a fueling opportunity. And I was doing it quite late in the afternoon. So it was a little little bit of like, it's getting to tea time. I'm quite hungry actually. So I took a whole handful of precision hydration gels and I was like 90 grams an hour. And I've just got to take these however I feel. And I've given this motto to quite a few of my athletes this week who are getting into like races. Don't think, just swallow, Gary. I think I needed on a t-shirt. And I was like, don't think, just swallow. And also can't step off the treadmill, so I'm still moving. So just get it in your mouth. Don't think about what it is and just swallow it.
I'm going to say that to Lisa tonight. Don't think,
well,
just swallow.
With the gels.
Oh, God,
with the gels.
you're going to kill me for saying that. Sorry, Lisa.
You gotta take that out. Do you think Precision Hydration will use this in one of their reels?
They will not accept the collaboration.
Don't think, just swallow. It's totally true, though, when you're taking a gel, that it's not a pleasurable experience. It's not something that you go, especially if you're working at any sort of intensity, you just got to get it down. You've got to check the tab is open and you just got to squirt it in and swallow. At the end of that, I wanted to run 3 miles off that to finish up my week. And I came into the house and the darts were over by now. I think Tottenham Man United was on by now. And I said, anybody in here run 3 miles with their mum, please? Anybody?
Silence.
Yeah, met with a deafening silence. Please, somebody go. Anyone can go on a bike. I don't want to go out on my own. And then Bryn, he stood up to the plate. He's like, I'll come with you. I was like, and as we went down the drive, I finished off that. That's where we were really chortling because I was like, don't swallow. But the difference between high carb fueling that session and I finished it, it was 2 hours worth of work with a lot of work in the front end. It was the end of a massive week of training. And I was fine. I finished and I could then step into my new tent. I felt great. And then the next day, not as wiped out, still sore and tired. I'd done a session. But so moral of the story is, and I need to be better because I'm bad at fueling my easy runs.
I think I only really fuel my specific runs, long runs, obviously.
I don't have any problem with fueling runs. Like I know a lot of people, it's quite a triggering barrier, like more calories, constantly taking in more calories. And people, one, it's expensive. And also people come to running in all sorts of different relationships with food as well. But one thing we all have in common is we all want to run more. We want to be injury free. We want to get better.
I think that's what happens over time. I'll put my hands up. My relationship with food has improved over the years, but the thought of fueling my easy runs, that would trigger me. Maybe a few years ago, that would trigger me because I was trying to lose weight and I was like, my goodness me, I'm kind of eating more calories.
So by the end of the week, I had ticked off. I never got a long run in longer. I think I got a 2-hour run in. That was my longest long run. And we discussed that in a bit more detail last podcast, that February wasn't my time. It's not my time. But I still managed a good mileage, good amount of hours, good strength. And then as well this week, everyone is dying to know why Eddie was sending naked selfies to. By the way, I wasn't sending naked selfies. I put a filter on, I put a censored bit on the good stuff. So I listened to a podcast with Lucy Gossage on winning the spine with 2 of her best friends, Bex and Nikki, and the podcast is called Miles from the Ordinary. This is a really great podcast, even though it's triathlon based. Their first guest happened to be Lucy Gossage, and I knew that Nikki had done Lucy's socials for the spine, and we'd had a few messages during the race as well. So I thought, I bet this interview is going to be really good. I think it's episode 6, if anybody wants to listen to it. And it is really good. And it's so good, I think, because they're all such good friends. And the details that Lucy goes into of the preparation she did before the spine, because looking at Lucy from the outside, you might think she plays it cool. You know, she's like, this isn't my professional career. I've been a professional athlete. I'm not racing. And I was like, I can't bullshit to that. She's gone into great detail about like how she planned to do better this race. And she talks about the race a lot, but she also talks about her preparation and how it was hampered a little bit with nerve pain. And then she goes on to talking about this heat tent she used. And my spidey senses started. Ding, 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 ding. I was like, I'm really interested in heat training. Trish did it to great results in Australia. I've got some clients going out to Western States. I've already done it quite a few times with athletes, different ways. But now it's coming more. They're doing more and more testing. People are using it more and more in everyday training, not just for heat acclimatization as well. And I often find the best way to educate myself is to actually by trying to do these things. Potentially my next race is at the beginning of June. It is in Scotland, but by my luck, it could be a heat wave.
Gotcha, yeah.
But also there's a lot of science out there and a lot of not just the studies, because often I find the scientific studies, they're done on like 14 well-trained middle-aged men. I'm like, oh, yeah. But there's a lot of athletes reporting really positive effects from both active and passive heat training. So I thought, I want to get in on this. So I messaged up the goss and was like, tell me how you did it. Give me the deets. And she sent me this hilarious picture of her in this said blue sauna tent. Let me know her protocol. She even sent me a link to where she bought it and said, I'm going to start working on commission, because obviously quite a few of her friends had listened to this podcast and been like, where you got this from? It's a little bit of a frightening contraction. You have this pot of water, which you fill up, you plug it in, and then it creates a sauna basically. And you step into this sauna tent. It heats up to a certain temperature. And I was like, it said, heat it to P9 for 15 minutes, but then take it down, because most people won't be able to cope with P9. And I did listen to that, Gary, and I did read the instructions, because normal Eddie would be like, I can cope with P9. So I was like, no, let's go in. I didn't even ask Lucy what heat she went in either, because I thought, again, no.
No comparison.
Lucy said, no comparison. So started it last week. I went in and I've not sat in heat, not done anything hot, not sweated for a very long time. And after 10 minutes, I thought my eyeballs were going to pop out. I was dying. The children thought this was the funniest thing they've ever seen, because I started off, because your head is poking out. I started off like quite chatty, and they were like, you're not even sweating, Mum, it's fine. And then the minutes, and slowly, like the sweat, it started coming. They just could not believe. They were like, oh my God. But I've done it every day this week, and I have I've already seen whether this is like placebo because I'm getting more comfortable with coping with the heat, like whether there's actually any physiological changes yet. I don't know, but I've put it up one temperature knot already. Today I did 25 minutes instead of 20 minutes. And now it's really just the last 5 minutes when I think my eyeballs are going to explode. This is how Lucy sold it to me. She's like, it's amazing because you can like scroll. She must be brilliant. She's like, you can scroll on Instagram, you can like call people. And I was like, we can call each other, we can chat. Oh my God, inside it, I can just, the dripping, Gary, you can only imagine. The worst bit is it's on this really low chair. So once I've been sat on it for like 20, 25 minutes, I can't get up, Gary. So my watch is going ding, ding, ding. And I'm like, oh, please. But I've noticed I'm able, and I think this is a really good, I'm able to calm my nervous system by going, so I'm watching my heart rate, and I'm literally sitting there and it's at 130. The stress on the body with the heat is amazing, but I'm watching it and I'm able to like calm myself mentally going, you're okay, calm, you're just hot, which is such a great thing as well to be able to do in long ultras, even if it's not hot, to be able to calm your nervous system down and go, you're not dying, this is just normal sleep deprivation, etc., etc. I've really enjoyed it. I've slept better, Gary. My skin feels better. I'm less creaky. There are, apart from the other benefits, there are all these things as well. So I would go as far as to say I'm a little bit of an addict to my blue sauna tent.
But you
already.
think sometimes it all sounds wonderful, but there's a heavy time investment in this?
This is 20 minutes a day. We can all find 20 minutes a day. So I'm doing this. You're not. Go shut up. So I'm doing this as a passive, not active, because I can't find another. I don't want to forsake my training because I've only got limited training time anyway. So I don't want to put on layers and be in the, also I find that really hard. Layers on a treadmill makes me feel claustrophobic and horrible.
Well, that turns an easy run into a really hard run, doesn't it, basically?
Yeah, it does. So you have to forsake then a training run, basically. So this is my thinking, that I start passive. I get comfortable in the heat before I move this onto the treadmill, or I never do. And I always just do it passive. And I don't put the layers on the treadmill. 20 minutes before bed. Yes, it means the night agent is still ongoing and I haven't finished it. But we've got to that point in it now where it's just so ridiculous that we all know what's going to happen in the embassy. I can't take it any longer. It is finding more time, but also actually for how I felt afterwards, that shower afterwards, Gary, also means I take a shower every day, which, as we know, is sometimes a bit hit and miss. So I'll keep you posted. If anybody wants any more details on it, Lucy's there. Message her up. No, I'm joking. But I wanted to say thanks to her, because it was her that gave me it. Well, as I was listening and she was thinking, I was thinking, this is, when you like, just know that this is going to make me feel better. And it has. So if you are a middle-aged woman of a certain age and you want to try something a bit different, do it. But just be careful. Obviously, this is not medically, make sure you drink, don't get too hot, don't do too long, don't get too
What
hot.
a week.
So that was exciting. What a week.
People bounce back. I love it.
Yeah, because last week was I had quite a few messages. I had quite a few messages from people saying, Eddie, you're not old. You are ridiculous. But I think it's that stepping into, Gary, you did it like 10 years ago, but it's stepping into the realization that we're not getting any younger. Yeah, thank you for your messages of Eddie, you're not getting old, but we all know the truth. And also, if you are an older person and you're still going strong, you're an inspiration. We love it. Can you beat the naked sauna tent? I don't think you can.
No,
Yeah,
give myself
whatever
a
you
bad
say
back
now.
doing some DIY.
What DIY were you doing?
This is sensational. This is how you spend Valentine's Day. We went to, I'll give them a plug, Ren. It was a real pleasant experience. And we did the VR.
I've seen that advertised. Yes.
We did the VR headset
with
in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh. Why didn't you send me a
me.
picture of that?
It was incredible. You can even, so I got down on my hands and knees, and you can put your head in the cupboard. It was incredible. I thought it was going to be like literally excruciating, the whole affair. We went to 2 kitchen shops, but yeah, it was pleasantly entertaining. I think the coffee and the unlimited cookies probably helped.
Okay, here we go. Gillian McKeith is going to have something to say about this.
This is it. I'm in denial. I'm eating well. But because the kitchen's coming, that's accelerated some jobs that I probably maybe should have done about 10 years ago.
Like the dartboard 20 years ago.
Yeah. I thought I wouldn't say I'm strong, but I think I'm relatively strong, but definitely not functionally strong because of days graft. Like if I had to do Leroy's job, I would be ruined. Yeah, my back was not happy. And it was funny, I'm kind of really fast forwarding to Sunday. I had this, I smugly, anytime anybody came in the kitchen, I was forcing them to look at my handiwork. And Lisa was questioning she said, just don't do that, don't do this. I flexed because when I was an industrial model maker, I was really good at my job. I was really good at making
We know,
things.
we've all seen In the Night Garden.
Exactly.
It was sensational. Yeah.
So I told Lisa how excellent I used to be at doing this kind.
Yes.
I told George, I give him a little life lesson. Measure twice, cut once, and I still cocked it up. I should have measured 3 times, basically. I cut all the
We
bits of
all
wood.
remember the story of the television, don't we? Oh, shoot.
Oh, yeah. But with my special set of skills, I solved it. DIY, my goodness me, that did take its toll. But we'll go back to Monday, super easy Monday. I did my strength. I felt surprisingly sprightly after the weekend's shenanigans. It was a double long run on the weekend. So, yeah, I do labour on the point I'm a middle-aged man now. But for the volume I do, a workout, 2 long runs, and that long run, there's a bit of effort within the long run these days. I'm quite amazed how up and about I feel. I'm got it cold.
Imagine if you added the sauna tent into this. How incredible you'd be.
My HRV is in the green. My watch is finally telling me that. Everything's, the sleep is sensational.
This is all making me very nervous about next week.
That's where the wheels are going to... Yeah. So yeah, I am feeling up and about. I'm surprised how well everything's holding up considering how much I'm doing. Tuesday, easy miles plus strides too, because Monday ended up being, although it was easy, it was a lot of miles on the Monday. I think I did my uphill treadmill too on Monday. It was like 10%, super easy, because sometimes even though I run to the gym and this time of year, it's still cold when I go into lifting weights. So to get on that treadmill for 30 minutes, whatever it is, that really just get me warmed up for the gym. 3 double-digit days. All I could face on Tuesday was just easy miles and strides. Wednesday workout. You said, I think you were going to do 6 times 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was the plan. Of course, I never did that. I changed.
Well, I went
plan
and did 8 times by 5 minutes.
8 times 5.
It was big, 10% on the treadmill, 2 minutes recovery. Like every treadmill session, it's a different tale when I'm out on the tarmac, but I crushed it. Absolutely loved it.
Are you running 6 miles an hour then? for that 5 minutes?
I'm not sure. I don't look at the pace. I just get my heart rate into zone. The aim is all these people do ask me all the deets on the treadmill. Maybe I should share a bit more.
But every treadmill speed is different, so it's
exactly. Well, this is why I don't really bother about what the pace it says. I really have no idea if the elevation is. It's going to be kind of. I have no idea if the mileage it says on it's correct. So I think if I go to time and I go to effort, then those two metrics I think are quite accurate. So yeah, literally stick to the treadmill at 10%. That is the elevation. Unlike your workout where you were varying the elevation, I wasn't doing that. 10% for everything.
Do you know why I vary the elevation as well? Is that because I get really sore feet and calves if I keep it all at one?
I thought you were doing some kind of trail simulation because it's not.
Well, that as well, because I like to increase the cadence when it gets to 5% as well. Otherwise, I just become a 200-mile runner. But also, I find my calves and my feet get quite sore at 12%. And so if I drop it down as well and change it up a bit, working the muscles a bit differently.
But what I do basically, because it is heart rate based, not pace based, that first 5 minutes, I'll kind of feel where I am for the day.
It. Yeah, I love that.
I'll gauge my speed, I'll gauge what I can do, and then I'll walk that first 2 minutes, see where my heart rate goes down to, because you mentioned earlier also about that drift, just that accumulation of fatigue. And then probably maybe, because it is 8 of them, that's a lot of volume. So maybe the second one I'm even kind of seeing where my top end is. And then the last 6, that is where I'm kind of focused.
That number 7 and 8, when you're on the back end of a workout and you're flowing and you're warm and you're like, if you've done it right, if you've done it like that, you feel incredible, don't you? Like you feel so strong. Whereas number 4 and 5 can feel horrible and like an endless mountain.
In 5 minutes, that's 40 minutes of effort plus the 2 minutes recovery. That's a big sweaty.
You are such a big sweaty mess.
And I watched The Boys. I moved on to The Boys now. Oh my goodness me, I loved Titans, but The Boys on Amazon Prime is another level. It's not appropriate for public spaces, so I'm waiting for a little tap on the shoulder.
Why is it dirty?
Well, this week's episode, there's a character called Soldier Boy, and he wanted to kill everybody, basically. And all the baddies, they're all baddies, but the people that he wants to kill are in this place called, oh, goodness me, it's like basically like an orgy for superheroes. So people have got like 20-foot penises and they can do all kinds of crazy stuff. So this is playing on my iPhone as I'm on the treadmill. Yeah, not. I'll be on CCTV somewhere. Look at this awesome. Easy, thirsty Thursday. Still going strong. No booze. I'm drinking a cup of tea with a thirsty Thursday.
Oh my God, yes.
Is everybody on soft drinks? I think Aaron had a pint. It was kind of giving me very pleasant memories of Christmas, the Christmas party, Aaron's beer. Super early. Oh God, I don't know what it was, but I was in the gym by like 6:15 on Friday morning. But when you're doing your run and you're doing your weights and you're home by whatever, 8 o'clock, you feel smugly productive.
I bet you were rubbish though at the kitchen place. You were just like, I'm so tired.
That's why I had to get it really early, because the appointment was at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It took 2 hours. It took 2 hours in Wren Kitchens. It was absolutely went on for ages. But yeah, I had to do everything. And I think this is where it's kind of good that you have these. Tomorrow's a super busy day for me too. So it's a hard stop. I can't really do much tomorrow. So everything had to happen today. So I have that kind of hard stop. I have to be home, showered and ready to leave the house here about 9:30 in the morning.
Like normal people do, Gary.
Yeah. But it makes you do hard things. You can't procrastinate. You can't just put it off to tomorrow, because then you layer it on to Saturday. Saturday's supposed to be a long run. That is your window. You get up and you do it. Long run on the treadmill on Saturday. This causes a lot of controversy, my treadmill 10 times 2 minutes. The amount of messages, because I think it's misleading. They see because I separated on Strava, that it just looks like a treadmill workout. Where I live, I don't have big hills. That gets me, when I do say 2 hours on my own, or an hour and a half on my own in the trails with Rex, and then I go to the gym and do an hour and a half on the treadmill, I can get some serious vert, which I just can't get on my local trail. So people are wondering, why is Gary doing this? It isn't a workout. If it was a 10 times 2 minute workout, that's very different to 10 times 2 minute surges within your long run. And I'm coming off it, I do some serious elevation and I come off it pretty well. I'm just wondering though, because you're going up basically for all of that time. There's no condition of the quads coming down. So we've got a big weekend coming up at the lakes this weekend. Be interesting what Sunday is like, and then how I feel on Monday. Yeah, Sunday easy miles with the scone and a cuppa. Another solid week. I can't argue with that. I'm not too sure what the mileage was. Pretty serious vert. I think I'm about 15,000 feet of vert, just under 80 miles. I did think I was going to go out and do another run just to arbitrarily get that 80 miles for the week.
Oh my God.
I know. But yeah, Rex had to have a walk. I just literally, my back was so sore. I was so pooped after doing all that DIY. So I just walked it out. Solid week.
Thanks, Precision Fuel and Hydration, for supporting Brew with the coaches. Actually, there's some really good, I've been wittering on today about my sauna tent, and there's some really good articles over on Precision Fuel and Hydration on heat training, passive and active, and also making sure that your electrolyte balance is right as well. So pop over there and see what their advice is on their training. If you'd like to try Precision Fuel and Hydration, use the code TEA10 That's all caps locks for 15% off your first order. If you're a Patreon, 20% off. Head over to Patreon for all the deets.
That is serious. 20% off. That is an incredible discount. This week's question comes from Emily Hudson. This week's question comes from Emily Hudson. I'm fairly new to this ultra running journey. Completed the Lakeland Trails 55k in July and the Lakes in a day in October, a little over 50 miles. I'm a huge fan of the Lakeland Trails and I do a lot of their shorter races too. Having completed the 55k this year, I signed up for the 100k next July. Why not, I thought. Although I knew what the start time of the race was, I'm not sure I thought it through when I entered, as this one sets off at midnight. My question is, how do I prepare in terms of sleep, nutrition and mentally for a race that begins at midnight? I ran into the night on Lakes in the day, so I'm not concerned about the dark. It's more about going into the race in a potentially tired state and the impact this may have on the latter stages of the race. I've got a good nutrition strategy thanks to you guys and Precision, and this worked out really well at Lakes in the day, but that was an 8 a.m. start and I'm not the quickest, so I'm anticipating it will take me in the region of 20 hours to complete, so I'll be running well into the evening of the race day. Any advice is very welcome. Thanks. My experience of this, I don't think it makes any difference at all. For me, personally, anyway. I've started races at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I did the St Cuthbert's Way, raced the tide. So you had to start off basically. So you got to the Holy Island when the tide was out. I got up early. I had a good night's sleep the night before. I did all my admin. Everything was chilled out apart from a normal 8 a.m. start where I don't sleep and everything is stress 90 until the gun goes. But yeah, Russell, what do you think?
Yeah, just like you say, Gary, it's about the good night's sleeps leading up to it. Unless you are in that final 1% looking for marginal gains where somebody really elite and pro might be trying to get an FKT or a win on a podium, they might look at drastically changing their sleep patterns and moving their circadian rhythms around. Unless you're that person, I would just get as many good night sleeps as you can in your 2 weeks leading up to the event. Have a day off on the day leading up to the race, which you will anyway if it's on the weekend. Spend that day as much as you can off feet. Expect that you'll have the energy when all the adrenaline kicks in when the race starts. If you try and affect your circadian rhythm around life and kids and work, and it's just going to be more stress, more difficult, and you're going to overthink things, and you could actually make things worse, and it could backfire. So just try and bank as much sleep as you can in the 2 weeks. Get a good 8 hours, work out your sleep admin, make sure you're not bringing screens to bed, you're getting 8+ hours, and you'll be fine. You'll have enough sleep bank then that you can perform, and you'll be surprised at how good you feel when the gun goes.
The good thing about the midnight start of the race is you can have a whole day of calories as well. You will sleep well, like Gary said. You'll sleep well. You won't have that broken sleep. You can have a nap. I probably try and have a nap about 1, 2 little 20-minute nap. You can have 3 good meals, probably have a big lunch or even a brunch. I'd have a brunch and then maybe something at 6, 7, 8. Just keep That's a meal at 6, 7, and 8 o'clock. Just you can just bank close. And I think here, like those late night starts, though you have the dread of the day slightly, adrenaline is going to be such your friend that by the time you're getting to the start, you're getting kit checked and everyone's got their head torches on. It'll be such a buzz that you will be absolutely fine. It'll be brilliant. I love it. I love running through the night like that. I did the Saint-Élion a number of times where it's a midnight start. Yeah, there's a bit of a wait that like 10 o'clock when you start, when you probably normally go to sleep, you might want to hit a caffeine gel then. But it sounds like you're already looking into that as well. And then you've got really only like 3 hours until dawn. So I think it's a really exciting. I don't think you need to really do anything apart from just plan your nutrition for that day quite sensibly, and that you don't want a tummy full of fruit and vegetables. Have nice bland food of that day.
Even if you don't manage to sleep during the day, Lakeland 100, I've never managed to nap in the tent. South Cuthbert's Way, I remember sleeping in the car in the cattle market where you park up before the bus turns up. No rest whatsoever. And as long as you manage to bank some sleep. Again, I just want an experiment of one. It was fine.
I think a midnight start. I mean, I love a midnight start because I really struggle with early morning starts. I really struggle getting breakfast.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Doesn't work me at all.
That porridge you're trying to put in your mouth and you're like, swallow. What? It doesn't start the day good for my gag reflex, which is going to be heavily used in about 4 to 5 hours.
Think of it as pre-training, that gag reflex. But yeah, so I think the good thing about a midnight start is, freaking just carb that day. It's just, I just eat, sleep, nap. It's like the best day ever. That's a brilliant thing about a midnight start. The adrenaline will be all you'll need. I wouldn't worry about that. It's all, like Russell said, it's all about that, trying to get as much sleep as possible in the week before. That definitely helps. And you might feel a little bit sluggish, but the adrenaline will absolutely kick in and you'll be past that before you know it. You talk about your nutrition strategy being set. I imagine you've probably got, if you've talked to Precision Hydration, they'll have got some caffeine in there for you as well. But that will definitely help before you start the race, maybe like 30 minutes before, get a caffeine gel in. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it will be great. Just try and nap in the 24 hours before carb load and get as many naps in as possible and have fun.
Yeah, enjoy. Good luck,
fun.
Emily. You're brave. Well, brave. I love that. Like the 55k, signed up for the 100k. Done.
Smash it.
Yes, and smash it. Good luck, Emily. Let us know how you get on. Everyone was very positive about a midnight start of a race.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a midnight start, does it? It could be like a tea time start if you're doing Lakeland 100. Thanks, Phoenix Light, for sponsoring this week's interview. Don't forget, patrons can enjoy 10% off over at www.phoenixlight.co.uk. The best design comes from the actual needs of users. Phoenix takes providing mobile lighting products with excellence performance as the goal and born for harsh environments as its mission. Never forget why you started, and your mission can be accomplished.
That's a good mantra to lead into Darla's interview, isn't it? That could be one of her mantras. Here we have a sensational interview. Be prepared, bring your tissues, and also to be inspired by the incredible Darla Crispin. Gary, you've got so many long words that you're going to have to say.
I know. Bear with me. Apologies. I've got a really sore throat too. But this is why. This is why I love running, because I am guilty. I'll probably surround myself with either people who live close to me or like-minded people. Say when I worked in the design industry, all my friends were designers and model makers. But now that I'm more within the running community, my friends are pretty diverse like never before. So absolutely, yeah, I love running. And also, yeah, if you just share your story, it's inspiring. There might be somebody out there also who's feeling a bit alone.
Heaps of people. Absolutely. Me alone. Just when we have our chat, Darla, I come away going, God, blimey, gotta do my strides. I'm still coughing, Darla, so I'll put myself on mute quite a bit, but hopefully that won't put you off. It's just so Gary doesn't have to edit it out heaps of coughing. I wrote all the questions for Gary, Darla, yesterday. I said, I'll write the questions because there's lots of you. You've got your own Wikipedia page.
I know. Somebody did that. I said, oh my God.
I think Darla's the fanciest guest we've ever had on. Well, fancy. And then I came back to it today and Gary had jazzed up jazz being the appropriate word.
Sprinkled a bit of dust on it.
Sprinkled all this magic dust on all the questions.
Nice.
Right, let's get going.
Darla Crispin is a distinguished Canadian pianist, scholar, lecturer, and academic leader born in British Columbia, Canada. She has made significant contributions to the fields of artistic research and historical musicology. Darla took her BMUS at the University of Victoria. She later moved to the United Kingdom for advanced studies, earning a Concert Recital Diploma from the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London and an MMus and PhD in Historical Musicology from King's College London. Darla is currently the director of Arne Nordheim Centre for Artistic Research and Vice Rector for Research and Artistic Development at the Norwegian Academy of Music in Oslo. I'll take a deep breath. Wow. First thing, Darla.
Should we congratulate Gary on that, Darla, before we go anywhere?
Yeah, nicely done.
Very smooth.
I should make a small correction.
Yeah, there's
though.
a big correction coming with that already.
Yeah, so the correction is that I'm no longer the vice rector in Norway or the head of the Arne Nordheim Centre, because I left those jobs a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow. So AI is well out
settle
there.
back here in the UK.
So when you were doing those roles, you were living in Norway?
I was residential both here and there, so I would go back and forth. I mean, a reason to eventually not do that anymore was the tremendous amount of traveling. So I would be in planes as much as I was on the ground. I had a crash pad in Norway, and it was very, very nice indeed. And if you're a runner, living in Norway or being there is wonderful, because there's such a great culture in Norway, really in the Scandinavian countries, of good health and fitness and being outdoors and not working crazy hours, even though we did work crazy hours. Really nice place to be if you love the outdoors.
I wonder if it's pretty similar to Helsinki. My wife's family's from Finland, and oh my goodness me, when we holiday in Helsinki, it's just a dream for running. You can go to public running tracks. You don't have to pay to get on these places, and they're pretty much open all the time. Yeah, really, like you say, really promote the outdoor living. Historical musicology. I've never heard of that before. What is it?
Well, really, it's the the academic study of music. So my first training was as a performer. And when I came over here, and eventually for various reasons was performing less, I wanted to study music in a different way. And another way you can study music is to look into, say, the history of composition or of composers or figures around music, look at the writings, the letters, the all of the stuff around the creative process. And this material is everywhere. It's in libraries. I mean, we have the British Library in London. I spent a lot of time there studying. So it's looking at the material, the written stuff, sketches of compositions, anything around music, and thinking about, what am I curious about? What do I want to find out? And what does the material help me to learn? And you can combine that all together also with listening, really knowing well the music you're talking about. You can develop a way of thinking and talking about music that's quite different than if you would just perform it. I say just, that's the wrong word. But then what I really got interested in, which was the artistic research side, was what if you try to do both those things together, both perform and have this in-depth knowledge and ability to read the stuff around music. Later on, I guess we'll talk about that. I started to see more and more that doing an ultra marathon was like being a historical musicologist, because
I've often thought that, Darla, when I've been running. This is so like.
But it's true though, because if you're going to really do a race well, you have to train yourself physically and learn how to do it just as you do as a musician. You also have to know the map, the musical score. You have to know what to do if you have an accident, if you forget something while you're performing, or if you fall down on your nose in the mud. The more I started to get into, the running side of things, more I thought these things, there's an art to running a running can be an art, just as being a musician or a painter or a writer is a form of art. So that all these separate elements of life have come together in a really nice way. And that's what I'm interested now in thinking about and also writing about is that collision of these two things.
Could you even see a connection between something that's really modern music from something that was, say, hundreds of years old?
The music that as a performer I specialized in was 20th century modern classical music.
Okay.
So I guess what people would see is really pretty weird stuff. I think it almost doesn't matter what era of music you're thinking about. So you could think about, let's say, Beethoven or Bach and find some of these connections in, let's say, the breadth of things and how rhythm is used, but also in what music's supposed to do for us, which is to remind us that we're humans and that our humanity is important. And we often find that out on the trails, don't we? I'm sorry, Eddie, but I think of you on the spine, and just there's that wonderful story you tell of the robin. Sometimes when these races are really hard, that's when we find the thing that is also a matter of art, which is, why do these things matter? They don't seem to matter in the great big firmament of things, but actually they're some of the most important things ever, because they can highlight that sense of humanity. And at that moment, we all share that. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if we're writers, painters, podcasters, a person building a brick wall. It's something we share that we can get through these activities. It's one of the main reasons to do them, I think.
I sometimes have a conversation with my wife. We both studied art, not to the level that you had, but then we hear about, say, funding cut for the arts and how important it is, maybe, say, compared to civil engineering. Yeah, you can really see a tangible reason to, say, build a bridge or something like that, but I don't think sometimes people really do appreciate the value of what various arts do as far as like touching people's lives.
Interesting, because I mean, my family and my place of growing up was full of engineers. Well, my father was a draftsman, so he could draw sort of components of factories and stuff. The more these things don't seem the same at all, the more that you see that they are. So if you think about something like, let's jump to the Barkley Marathons. Well, the Barkley Marathons is full of people with PhDs trying to do this impossible race. Oh, so why is that? What is there about these accomplished, mainly scientists, maybe not entirely, but mostly numbers people, although Yasmin Paris is vet, of course. So, but people who are thinking about ideas in that way, but the kind of thinking you need to evolve, I guess, to do something like Barclay is still rooted in our common daily experience of walking down the road or building a brick wall or seeing the connection of things. So that's one of many reasons why ultra is so exciting, because it seems so exotic and distant, but it really isn't. It belongs to all of life, I think.
We'll rewind a bit. We'll talk about a couple of ultras. Last year, South Downs Way 100 and the Winter 100. That's 2 100-milers in a year. Yeah. That's a huge achievement. Is it South Downs Way? That's in June, so I know which one would be my favourite. But yeah, did you have a favourite out of the two races?
Well, that's an interesting one, because when Eddie and I started this project, I hadn't been able to put together a 100-mile race. I'd done a lot of 50s, and thanks to a lot of input from James Elson and then also from Ian Sharman, except for just the odd accident, figured out how to do the 50-miler. And really, I used it as this 50-milers as stepping stone back from some really ghastly health issues. When I would try the 100-miler, I just couldn't get it to work. And partly it was because I think physically I wasn't ready. My body was still healing, but my head wasn't ready either. I didn't have it in my mind how to do this. When Eddie and I started working together, the South Downs Way, that makes sense as a good race for a person who wants to do a 100-miler, because It's got certain congenial aspects. The trails are nice and wide, and you can see you're probably not going to freeze to death because the weather's nice, although you might fry depending on what the temperature is. I think it's a nice 100-miler for a well-trained person who maybe needs more experience, and that's what I was. But if I'm honest with you, the winter one, which because we'd had success in the summer one, and I knew, and Eddie was doing the 200, she said, you could try the 100. And you know how
I'm a dangerous person to know, Darla.
Also not too many races in a year. So I thought, I wonder if she's going to be okay if I try. So we said, yeah, we'll try it. And I really enjoyed that race, even though it was incredibly difficult, much more difficult than the summer one because of, well, all the elements of running in the dark, of wading through sort of streams and stuff, the mud, and a lot of solitude. Although I mainly train alone, so that didn't bother me so much. And a completely different mode of thinking. You had to be in that self-sufficient mode because there were fewer points of assistance. But sneakily, I think I really enjoyed that race a lot. But they're chalk and cheese, and really happy to have done both as kind of counterpart to each other, light and dark and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't want to say.
Aww.
And what is it about Centurion? I looked at the UTMB index. There's a lot of Centurion races on there. Yeah, what is it about Centurion that gets you keep going back?
First of all, again, it was really James and Ian they helped me into the 50s because I'd been doing sort of the road marathon things. But then when I moved down here to Surrey, you just fall in love with the trails, and the North Downs is sort of a few minutes from here. I love the North Downs. I think coming from Canada in a very sort of wilderness backwoods part of Canada then. If you come over here, you can miss trees and that chance to be in a remote place where there aren't people. But if you start getting on the trails of southern England, it is surprising how you can feel that actually it is just you in the trail. So I like that feeling. Centurion, when I sort of first got to know what they were doing, it was just starting out. It was a young organization, and James was starting with the North Downs Way races. So the first 50 I did with them was the year that, or 1 year that the 50 and 100 mile on the North Downs Way, they were run together. I really enjoyed that race. And first of all, I thought I'm never going to finish 50-mile race, but I did finish it. I had a really good time. Then eventually really started to appreciate the community that James started to grow up around the races. Really interesting people, lots of kindness, many stories of different kinds of histories of people. And then the portfolio of races that evolved is super fun and very diverse. So the North Downs Way 50 or 100 is nothing like the South Downs Way races, and they're nothing like the Thames Path or the Chiltern Wonderlands. There's such diversity in that portfolio. Since I think that we all have to think more and more about, if we're going to travel to races, how can we do that in a sort of way that's not too hard on our bodies and the environment?
Yeah.
For me, these are quite local races, and I just really enjoy them. Centurion has given me a lot of support also when I was trying to build myself back up as a runner. They didn't just disappear, they were kind of there, and that really helped a lot.
We ask all our guests, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
Where I am is in my front room, which is one of my work rooms. And this is a workroom that has a nice, relaxing chair. And the view out my window is to houses of Dorking. But if I were to stand up and look over the final house, I would have a view of the Box Hill Lookout. So
it still gives me shivers.
Yes, view of the North Downs from just the peak of it. And if I would go to the top of the house, I would see more of it. So that's every day just the reminder of how lucky am I to be in this place where I could go out the door and step onto the Greensand Way or the North Downs Way, or just almost everywhere is a nice trail to run or explore. So that feels good. And I haven't yet been for my run today. Sorry, Eddie.
No, I wouldn't have
shall...
expected you to, because I pulled the call time earlier, so
Yeah.
you didn't really have time, did you?
See, Tuesday is normally a workout day historically. Would you be doing a session later on today? Are you are you even back training yet?
Oh yeah, we've been back at it for a while. So Tuesday, I think today it's just going to be a nice run on the trails. Tomorrow we'll have a nice 3-hour run. I'm excited about that. Love the long run. And then some workout sessions towards the end of the week.
So if we turn up at your door, Eddie and I, where are you taking us? What's your local highlights?
Local highlights. You know what I think a local highlight is that is also sort of underreported in the running annals is the Greensand Way. I love the Greensand Way. Probably what we would do is trot up in the direction towards Hazelmere, because there are many wonderful viewpoints, and also there's lots of sculptures up there and artworks that people have created, which I really like to be running around and, tripping over roots and stuff, and then suddenly, a sculpture.
Yeah.
So I think it's got some magnificent views, very pretty, interesting trail, and a bit less traveled than, say, the North Downs. But the North Downs also has my heart. It's just that the North Downs is in a bit of peril at the moment, and there's been a lot of work done on it. So I think we need to be gentle with it and let it heal.
You must do most of your running on the North Downs Way, though, during the week, where it's a very different trail to how it is at the weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, such a great trail. We sort of jumped into that. You're an accomplished ultra runner already, but where did running come into your life? Have you always run? Is it something within the last sort of 10 years? How did you stumble across the crazy sport?
It's a very good question. It's kind of got long roots.
Let's dig. I got all morning.
The town where I was raised, it's a really important sports town, even though it's a town most people haven't heard of. It's called Rossland. It emerged as a town, first of all, as a gold rush town. It's on top of a mountain, and people came there to settle to find their fortune. It then became a sort of community for people who worked in the next town, which is down in the valley, and at that time was the world's largest lead zinc smelter. So it was a town full of people who loved outdoor sports, and smart people, engineers, scientists, and their families. The community was full of really gifted downhill skiers and really great ice hockey players. I mean, world-class downhill skiers, people who win Olympic medals and stuff like that, and people who played for the National Hockey League in Canada. And ice hockey in Canada is like football in this country. It's Saturday night is for hockey night in Canada. I don't want to say it's religion but it's close to that.
Yeah.
So it was so my hometown was a very sort of sporty place, but I was not a sporty kid. I was a study in the library kid. But we all had to be sporty because it snows 20 feet a year there, and so you would trudge a mile to school and back, and just do outdoor sports because everybody did them. So we could all ski after a fashion, and so it was a pretty healthy, interesting place to be raised. I then went to university, and because I was studying music and also literature and a few other things, I was a very sedentary life, a lot of sitting down to practice and that sort of thing. So I ran a little bit in university just for myself to keep moving, then came over here, and really I was completely engrossed in my studies by then. And then I started to get ill. The core of the running came after that. So I think it was in the early 90s, after sort of going around London in the summer in a bit of a daze because I had a constant temperature and infections that just wouldn't resolve themselves. Found myself, not through any means I really even remember well, except I kind of collapsed. I was hospitalized and put in a hospital in South London. I remember being in a ward full of women. I thought, oh, these ladies, they're so ill. I feel really sorry for them. But I'll just have my antibiotics and then I'll be out of here. And then a bunch of doctors came, and they looked at me with great seriousness and said, we have to move you to an isolation cubicle. I said, okay. because you don't really process what's happening to you and you're ill. But I was in a state of bone marrow failure. They put me in this cubicle trying to figure out what was going on, and because they didn't quite get it. It turned out that in my bone marrow was a kind of a malignant change that was causing some of the cells just not to work, some of the white cells. So my immune system, certain parts of it were gone, just had collapsed. That's not a system that you survive, or you can't live with that. But one day, after some really awful tests, bone marrow biopsies and stuff like this, a very elegant guy came in, and he had the best suit. And I thought, if this guy is the consultant, then I think I'm going to be okay because of the suit. So he said, well, you have a serious bone marrow deficiency, but we think we have an idea of what to do. They moved me to King's College Hospital, which had a hematology, oncology, sort of blood cancer treatment area, proper isolation rooms. Well, it was a clinical trial. They said, we're going to try this drug that just might help the bone marrow to work a bit better. After some pretty bad side effects for the first while, it worked. It started to make it that if I could manage a couple of injections a week of this stuff, I would be able to go back out into the world and live a normal life. Having decided that, because there'd been a lot of discussions, would I have to have a bone marrow transplant? Very risky and possibly, not going to succeed. My brother came over to see if he could be a transplant donor, but that wasn't possible. I thought, okay, I will get out of the hospital. I had a job I could do, just keeping books until I could, really walk again, because I was very debilitated by this time. And I thought, if we're talking about transplants and further treatment, I have to be stronger than I am. So it made sense first to walk. And then I started to do little runs. And at that time, the Race for Life was a really, really big deal. And I thought, I can do Race for Life and maybe raise a bit of cancer research money. Started with these little 5K races. And it's just like everybody's story. You do this sort of 5K, and I'm going to do 10K race. And this was great because I was getting stronger, but also sort of getting used to being in life again, because when you're that isolated for being that ill, it takes some time. And then when we moved down here to Surrey, it was sort of natural to say, I'm going to do trail marathons. So to get on the trails. And then I got interested in the Centurion 50 miler. And then the running really took off in terms of I got help in a bit of coaching to actually know what I was doing instead of just kind of randomly turn up at a marathon and hope for the best. I was strong again. I could function on the trails. I sort of then knew what to do. And that was great because when I first got out of the hospital, I couldn't walk around a city block. My lungs were a mess. Everything was wrecked. So it was my way to gradually recover myself and to trust being in the world again. And this is something we can all now relate to because of COVID, right? We're scared to go out into the world because there's infection out there. But if your immune system collapses, that's your life, so you really have to learn that you can't live, even if you have a bad illness like this is, you can't live scared inside your bubble. You have to try and be in the world. So that was sort of the first part of how I got into the running in the first place.
What did the doctors say when did you tell them you were stepping and you were running?
So the first part was when I was doing the short things, they were happy about that because bone marrow transplantation, which we talked about a lot, is really arduous and very hard to survive. So you have to be strong. I think they were very glad that I was doing this in case I would have to have that procedure, which fortunately I haven't. I've been fine on my medication. And then I started doing the 50s, and I would go in for I have periodic checks. I did a 50 miler, and then they sort of started not to believe. When I went in after the SDW, I did a 100 miler, and they're just kind of laughing. I mean, because for them, the success of the treatment that I have has been good for them. It was good for the research, and I hope that because I could tolerate the regime, it's helped other people as well who have this kind of really rare blood problems.
Have you met anybody else that has had the treatment following you having the treatment?
No, I mean, for one thing, I mean, I hate to say this, but a lot of people who have blood malignancies like that just don't survive. The early years that I had it, well, I remember saying to myself, I really hope I live to 50, because I contracted the thing at 27 years old. The median survival of some of these diseases is 5 years. So I just want to live to, please let me live to 50. I'm now 60 years old. Yeah. So so that's another interesting thing that we talk about a lot. There's, especially with women in ultra. So we think women, as we age, that we've got certain challenges that we have to overcome to do with aging, but it'd be nice to see. I mean, some of the most inspiring women in ultra are the ones who are older, who are doing amazing things. I mean, someone like Nikki Spinks at the Spine, who's also been through, she's had breast cancer and treatment for it. I mean, she won the Spine North, and you just think that is... Yeah, that's whom I'd like to be.
Yes, you are. You are. How are you now, Darla? How is your health? Is it something you have to manage on a day-to-day basis still?
It is. You sort of twice a week. I do these injections, and sometimes I don't feel very well after them, but mostly it's fine. So. We monitor it. I look and make sure there's, no signs of infection that are concerning. The doctors see and talk to me a few times a year. So that part of it is just regularly sort of looked at. The other side of it is dealing with the aftermath of breast cancer, which came later. And that's still an ongoing thing too. But I'm incredibly well, actually. I try to merit that luck, and but you don't know from day to day. And on the trails, so many people are dealing with things like this. I mean, there's that great Swedish ultra runner, Marcus Schellberg, who's also type 1 diabetic, and he talks a lot about how do you do that and run an ultra, because that's even harder than what I have in terms of you have to be managing it minute to minute. So many, many stories on these trails of ours of people who are just doing amazing things, and partly, it's an honor to their merit for that bravery. But also, I would say the trail gives us something, doesn't it? I feel like the trail always gives me more than I could give it. It imprints itself on us, and maybe it helps us in that way, which is why we really need to look after the trails, because they look after us.
I think even the bad days, you learn something those days from the trails.
Absolutely right.
So, Darla, our relationship, we've been going steady for a while now, and I know lots of people are very interested in how you train, and it's definitely been a model that you and I. It's a very personal model, isn't it? Because we have developed the model as we've gone as well, with a bit of trial and error, and we're following a sort of two-pronged model as well, because not only are we're looking after your body post-cancer and dealing with the repercussions of not just the cancer, but what the drugs have done to you as well. And then we're also dealing with the older athlete and what that brings into and how we respond to training, etc. So I'm sure people would love to know, like, what's a typical week look like for you? What have you found maybe that works, what doesn't work, etc. So maybe, talk through like what is a typical week, because it's unique to you, but also I think it would be quite inspiring to hear how much work you put in. Because often we just see like Darla, but actually you put in some graft. Gary is going to be jealous of some of this work that you do.
I mean, first of all, I should say I'm really lucky, because as sort of my day-to-day employment, that job ended when my contract ended in Norway. So I can I still do work, mainly writing, but I can fit that around what my life is. Usually each day's got a task to do, and my body is older and it's full of problems, so the first thing I might do is warm up in the morning, and I have physio exercises to do that. a lot of our work, and Eddie, you really started me on this, how important it is to do things like strength training. And gosh, for women, when our bones start to be challenged by getting older, that strength training is crucial because that's how you keep your bone density. So that's been a really important part of being stronger as a runner. And I think for me, maybe that element helped me to start to be able to do these 100-milers because I hadn't really lifted in anger before. So a good regime of getting the core stability right, which is also done separately from more kind of physio and Pilates-based exercises. That's been really important. I think another thing that people might find interesting is with the sort of getting better at completing 100-milers, is that it wasn't to do with the volume of running. It was to do more with the quality of what that running was. I don't believe in junk miles. I think everything's good. I think for me that's super important, or that I've improved thanks to you, Eddie, is just getting the nutrition better, eating correctly and in a well-timed way on the trail, and making sure not to underdo the eating. And for me, the other thing that I really love to do is to get on the trails, to recce them, and try to write about that. I like to write about the recce's for the Centurion community because I hope that it helps people if they're doing the similar race. I mean, my big thing is I like to be on those trails. I feel good on the trails, so I like to know what I'm doing. And I always think about something Robbie Britton said, which is also if you study a lot what you're doing, say at home, you study your maps, you make sure you know where everything is, you do your planning well. That's like free training that you don't have to set a foot outdoor, but you can still train very well to go much better if you just work on what you're doing instead of rolling up at the start line and hope for the best. So many different elements and layers of how to do these things. I am 6 years old, so the math says I'll never get faster, but I have a kind of inner hope that I'm always trying to improve, whatever that means. You know? So I think to do it in a spirit of hopefulness and optimism. And occasionally you have a really bad day and you say, okay, it's just a bad day and tomorrow will be better.
Darla is the queen of having a bad day. She'll have a bad day, be it just because of the run or she's had to have a test or something, but she just goes, it's a bad day. It's not going to happen. And move on to the next day, which I guess is probably learnt from your treatment as well. Darla, that you don't ponder on it. You just go, this isn't the day for this. I don't feel this today. You're incredibly intuitive about your body and what will work, what won't work. And you have at least every sort of 10 days you go, that's not the right thing for me now. So I'm moving it.
Yeah, you can shuffle things about. And
you're brilliant at the flexibility in the plan.
I think the underlying thing, though, is that if you're flexible, it helps you to be consistent. And that seems like a contradiction, doesn't it? But consistency at the base of all of this is key to everything because, I mean, I found for my body, I can't have swings of how much or how little I train. There has to be a red thread running through it all. So I don't skip sessions, really. I mean, if I am ill, I'll pay attention to that. But just keep going. One day might be a bit sort of crappy, but then the next day will come and you understand what it's all for. If we're feeling unwell, there's probably for a reason. What's that unwellness telling you? And just try and get its messages, but also don't let it push you around because then you can end up not doing anything. And if you have a bad chronic illness, and I'm sure this is why lots of us with these illnesses are doing ultra running, you have a dialogue with it and you say, we can coexist, but don't push me around. I'm going to run. And, if you don't push me around, then we can coexist with each other. Because the funny thing about, an illness like cancer and malignant disease is if it kills you, then it dies too, right? Sometimes cancers can be treated and cured, and that's what everybody hopes for, and that's what we all want. But in a case like mine, I can't be cured. So longing to be cured is pointless. But what I can do is kind of have a dialogue with this existence and say, but we could both live. So why don't we just do that? That's better than, so you don't kill me, I won't kill you. We're just going to hang out and see what happens. Sometimes that's the choice that, well, it's a choice to look at it that way, but that's sometimes all you've got, because not everything can be fixed. If it can't be, and you at least have the good fortune to be able to keep going, then finding a way to talk to yourself about it. And everyone's way is different. I mean, some people have a very combative relationship with what they're dealing with. For me, I sort of think cooperation works quite well. But if it starts to push me around, then I will push back. So it's that sort of thing. Also, I guess I should say to not be quite so scared, because these things are terrifying, actually, but they have to be faced and dealt with. And that's one way to do it.
The flexibility, if anything. And you say it's kind of contradiction, really. But sometimes if people say maybe whatever's in front of them seems too great a task, so they don't do it. But yeah, just bend, be flexible. Can we talk a bit about the Winter Downs 100? Sure. I've looked at some stats. 35 hours cut-off times. 33 hours-ish was your time.
That's right, yeah.
I'm looking at thinking, my goodness me, I'd be running scared. That might not be the tale from the trail. How did it go? How was the race for you?
Well, before the race, I was really scared because there were only 10 women running that thing. And I thought, and most of them were really good runners. And I thought, ooh, I'm out of place. So I think I sent an emergency sort of message. Eddie, I'm out of my depth here. And she said, no, just, so we calmed down. And she said, stop looking at social media. So that was good advice. So we rolled up to Amberley, grey day, drizzly, classic British winter. So it's sort of perfect. That's what it was for. We're supposed to be running in the drizzle and the dark. And so that's what we got. I'd, again, recce this thing a lot. I knew the South Downs Way and the North Downs Way really well. And I'd had a good look at the adjoining trails, the Wayfarers Walk, which is fantastic, and the St. Swithin's Way. And my husband and I, earlier in the year, had done a super pilgrimage walk. Well, we followed the Pilgrim Trail all the way from Salisbury. You can do that and then pick up the St. Swithin's Way before you get onto the North Downs Way. So I knew the trails well. It started in the afternoon, a bit of drizzle. First thing you do is slip around in a bunch of mud and then go uphill. So that was a hard start for me. And I just thought, my object here is to get to the end. I'll let everybody go. So everyone went ahead, and that was fine. And you have more peace of mind if you know that's what you should do, because you're not being harried by people. Got that first part going, but only about 2 hours before the darkness fell. So it started well. I was a bit sort of cranky at the beginning, trying to get the muscles moving and stuff, but it was okay. But I found that my usual eating plan was wrong. So I was trying to eat sandwiches. I couldn't eat them because I didn't dry mouth and everything. So switching to gel cubes, the gel cubes were too solid. So my eating plan sort of went to heck. Fortunately, I was able to meet my husband at about sort of marathon distance in. I'd managed okay and to run that. I was feeling all right, just needing to eat more. So he got some food into me. Sort of soon after that anyway was the life base at Sustainability Centre. The famous punishing climb up Butser Hill at night, and then just a bit to get there. So that first lot was okay. Thank goodness for these life bases, because you get soup and everything. And if you're out of sorts, they make you in sorts. That was a nice sort of stay at that base. And Drew Sheffield was there, and he's great. So sorted everything out, charged everything, had my list of what to do, fulfilled the list. And then the next part, which is sort of the run into the Meon Valley. And I love that part. And that was my favorite part because it was so still at night. The trail was a bit more amiable, and I just really enjoyed that. When you get into the valley after sort of then climbing up and down Old Winchester Hill, there is this bad wading section through the overflow of the River Meon. So thank goodness for knee-high waterproof socks. I think it's sort of the great discovery of the year. And then through Exton and up through to the Wayfarers Walk, which again, I just think is a really beautiful walk, beautiful trail. And you can run and walk it. It's extremely diverse. And there's something about a winter run in the night when you're very solitary, that if you're okay in managing your body well, it's a really special experience. And kind of, sort of meditative.
Did you manage to share the miles with anybody, or was it solitary for the whole race?
I would run into people from time to time, pick up. There were some lads at Exton filling the waters, so you say hi and that sort of thing. I'm not a great conversationalist on the trail. I'm always in awe of people who can carry on a constant stream of conversation while they run. I'm just sort of trying to save all my energy, so I tend to be a bit quiet. But from time to time, you'd run into someone, always greet them, make sure people are okay, because sometimes someone would need a salt tablet or whatever. And so we all did look after each other. And that's another thing I love about these races is everyone's a team. People had their own crews, let's say, waiting for them to look after them. But they would ask you, oh, I'm waiting for my runner. Do you need some water or anything? And I just thought that was the best thing ever. So instead of just you have the life bases and your own crew might help you here and there, everybody's crew helped everybody. And that's how things should be.
No, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. The run up to Bishop Sutton, which was the second life base, that was good. And then from Bishop Sutton to Farnham, that was my worst bit. So Bishop Sutton's about 60 miles. So you're running,
Wow, okay.
sort of the 60 to approximately 80-mile bit of the race. It's not the most fabulous scenery. It's through a lot of people's backyards and stuff like that.
And you were in daylight, I guess, by then.
Well, that was a good part, of course. You think, the daylight's going to come and then I'm going to run really quickly. And then the daylight comes and you're just like, oh my God, you're just trying to move forward. And but that was just normal. Well, so I just said, don't freak out. It's just normal. You've run this distance. It's hard because lots of mud as well. There's some of the worst muddy sections. Just after Ropley, the small village before Alton, really bad mud. And you just have to trudge through and not get, emotional about it and just say, don't take the mud personally. You just have to get through it.
That's for a t-shirt, that is.
So that was sort of perseverance. And because I knew the trail before, I was saying, okay, just look for the cool classic cars, because there's some really cool car places. So I was looking for these Austin Healey Sprites and old Jags and stuff. But so just you grab whatever you can enjoy or have a laugh at.
Yeah.
And
you mentioned the law, but was there a particular high point?
This is going to sound completely perverse, so I'm sorry, but I really enjoyed wading through the River Meon.
Hey!
I love that, Darla, because I can't tell you, Gary, how many messages Darla sent me about her anxiety about the river crossing and her foot choice and her socks. And she kept saying, I'm going to change my socks. And I kept saying, don't bother, Darla. You're just going to get wet feet straight again. Yeah. Just keep moving.
I think the river, the wading, I think the reason why I loved it so much is because through training for this race and having a look at the landscape down there, boy, these chalk streams, they're so beautiful. The River Test and the River Itchen and then the River Meon itself, all these chalk streams, the water's so clear and you can see fish and stuff. I'm really homesick for that sort of thing from Canada where, a lot of the water's really clean and you can, it's gorgeous. And I live near the River Mole. Now, I have a lot of love for the River Mole, but it's muddy and claggy and it's polluted too. So it really did my heart a lot of good to just see these little rivers that were clear. They'll be polluted. We know the problems with water pollution in the UK rivers. I just love seeing these rivers and seeing the grass move in the rivers. So the river parts, those were high points for me, Gary, to answer your question. Just love seeing the rivers. And, I hope we'll all look after them because they look after us. So that was nice.
33 hours, you're deep in the hallucination zone. Did you see anything?
Yeah, I will, because that was super interesting. After Farnham, first of all, everybody who did this race had the joy of the flood of the Farnham golf course and climbing over this huge tree. So, and I climbed under it. I don't know if that was a minority choice or whatever, but
you were the only one who'd done all your flexibility, could get under it. I could not. No way. I'd have got
it just made sense, but I just didn't think of climbing over it. So we do what we do. And it was getting dark, but I wasn't worried because I thought, I must have run that stretch of trail between Farnham and Dorking hundreds of times. That's my place. But we'd had Storm Dara blow through here just a few days before the race. There was a lot of stuff on the trail, and I take the trail very personally. I love the trail, and there's all this sort of cutting down of trees. And I thought, they're cutting down the trees on the trail. I was kind of broke my heart about that. And then you could see the river way. When they clear the trees off, you can see how much litter people put on the river banks. And that sort of made me really mad. So I just keep going.
You are running with rage, Darla. Yeah. Hallucinogenic rage.
So keep going. Got to Putnam. It was the last base. And then it was really getting to be night. Fog started to come in. And so you start to go a bit blind with your lights, and that just put on the warm light. Don't put on. So, and then after Newlands Corner, so on the top of this ridge that we run from Newlands Corner to Dorking, really, to Denby's Hillside, everything looked wrong. And I thought, how can this be? Because I know this trail so well, but there was so much deadfall and there was so much fog. And and the brain was starting not to go on all synapses. Started to really sort of get worried that this looks wrong. Oh, there's a skeleton there. But of course, it's just trees. And so everything started to get a bit sinister. I feel bad about that, but so many people said the same thing up there because there was just a lot of storm damage, I think, that if you knew that trail, you didn't know it because they had done some alternatives to make it passable. And there was a lot of climbing over and under dead fallen trees. And all the damage to the North Downs it's really upsetting because you just realize these landscapes that you enjoy, they're also kind of delicate. So it's kind of, and you're emotionally, the tree, they're cutting the tree. Wow. So, and then my light died. I don't get it because this is the trusted Phoenix torch. But I think I'd forgotten a battery or something. But I had another one. So I found a garbage bin, balanced my stuff, and got the other light. So that was okay. Got to the hillside, and it looked like my GPS was starting to die too. Oh, no. So got down and up to top of Box Hill. GPS died. Got a bit sort of loopy. Gentleman's just points, sort of a little bit of directoral kind of help there. And eventually I recovered the trail again. But your head's just mad. Then Centurion HQ rang and said, "Are you lost?"
I love that.
But I'd found my way. So we got to the end after that. It's such an interesting question, Gary, because the place where I had the most disorientation was the place where I should have been best oriented. So you can't take anything for granted on these things, and you just have to be ready for anything.
Yeah, even on what is kind of a national trail. Sometimes think about all this disorientation maybe on the high fells, but no, you're on a trail. Did it satisfy you? Did you get what you wanted out of the race?
I'm really glad with these 100 miles to get them done in a sort of a decorous way, But I think with the winter one, there was something extra about it because we're pushing it the envelope here. It's wet and cold, and you need a high degree of self-sufficiency to face certain fears you might have about being alone at night. Am I going to drown in the River Meon? Am I going to fall off some ridge? So I think it did give me something extra because it was hard. And I like that. So, we'll keep doing harder things. It was very rewarding to do. It was nice to sort of end up that I was sort of trying to run to home because the end of the race is basically being home. So that was great. Preparing for these things, it's a wonderful way to get to know landscapes and rivers and the environment and their strengths and weaknesses, their problems, but also to know yourself a bit better. I didn't know I could tolerate that much cold and wet and winter in a 100-mile race, but I can tolerate it. So I've learned something. So it's great.
You are back training. So Winter Downs, 11th of December, so we're not quite a month out from the race. But yeah, plans for 2025.
Oh, yeah, I think we've got it sorted here. That race in particular, I suppose, sort of reignited my a real love for the North Downs. And last year I spent a lot of time on the South Downs to prepare for that race. So I thought, let's dedicate a lot of time to the North Downs. So I'll do the North Downs 50 in May. I've done that race a lot, but I wonder if I could do it a bit quicker or, in a more organized way. So that'll be fun. And, these are all Centurion races because I love Centurion races and they're fun to do. Then it makes sense, therefore, to do the North Downs Way 100 because there's a nice gap of time again to say that 50 is both training, but there's time to recover and put in a really good block of training. It's a home race, and the NDW 100 is hard, though. I mean, that's probably one of their harder, maybe it's the hardest regular 100 on their roster if you think about the 4 that they have. The trail is weird. It doesn't let you run freely as much as the South Downs Way does. It's more single track, more rocky, rooty, technical, all of it. Sorry, James, I know you don't like it when we come in and say, what's this? But it's on the long side. So I think there's a lot of challenges with it. It's also in August, so you could fry. I mean, I attempted it a couple of years ago, and it was in a storm. So it was just, at that time, I didn't have the mental equipment to cope with it. But I'm pretty sure I do now if I train well. And assuming that goes well, it just makes sense to do the Winter Downs 200 to do the whole loop. And
incredible.
To see if that's possible. And Eddie has some good experience of that loop, so I think we can put something together if I can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, keep my body together.
This is going to be incredible, Darla. We need a Netflix documentary about your journey to that. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about you towing the line for that race, and I'm so proud of you for going.
Oh, thanks.
The journey you've had, and then it was not me. I tickle a lot of ideas to you, but that was totally you going, Eddie. Me just going, okay, jump aboard. I'm up for the ride. Let's see what we can do.
Well, we have a lot of fun, but you've taught me such a lot about how to do this better and how to really make the training count.
Oh, Darla, you've taught me more than you'll ever know. Gosh, imagine Gary being able every day touching base with Darla of just being the wiseness, the words, the inspiration. If Darla's doing her strides, we're all doing our strides. No excuses.
It's a good tip you said about the race being 103 miles. If you sign up to a 100-miler, it might be a little bit longer than 100 miles.
Yeah, and those final miles are really long.
Oh,
the toughest.
Goodness me.
They are the toughest, aren't they?
So you do the quick 5. Do you listen to music when running, Darla?
I do. Never when I'm racing. The racing is the time for music to be in my head. I can start a tape going in my brain of music if I need music, but sometimes if you're doing something, you just need some house music. So I might listen. I tend not to listen to difficult classical music on a run because it's not right for that. But house music's good. Kraftwerk is good. I'm like old school house music and stuff like that. But a lot of times I won't do any of that and just because if you're going to run without music in a race, you better be used to that. So I will use music if I need extra help, but so I apply it more like a remedy, but often just trying to listen to what's out there and, not get hit by cars and stuff. So it's better to be aware, I think.
If you could take any famous composer or musician, they don't have to be famous, on a run with you, who would it be and why?
That's quite good. I think composers we have this idea about them that they're not very athletic, but actually a lot of composers were great walkers. Beethoven was a great one for walking. And the area that I specialize in as a musician, which is sort of early 20th century music of Central Europe, they were great climbers of mountains. So they might not be so much into running, but it might be quite fun to hike up a mountain with Gustav Mahler. I'll take that.
You show him your hiking technique. Do you think he'd have poles? Not sure.
He might. He's one of the great conductors, so he might.
Really short poles. Okay, you find yourself headlining at Glastonbury. You've just walked off the stage, Darla, but the crowd are screaming for more. What's going to be your encore song?
I get a bunch of people together and do a scratch performance of Terry Riley's In C, which is a classical piece of music, but it's really cool and minimalistic. And I think people would get into it. And if it's Glastonbury, it would end up being a bit more like chill out music, so it'd help them to calm down. And also, it can go for as long as you want. It could be infinite, for infinity or whatever. So that's what we would do.
You're taking that stage. I love it. You're taking that stage.
20-minute encore. Sensational. We're joining you for your favourite run session and then for your favourite post-run snack. Yeah, what we're going to do, what's the workout and what we're going to refuel on afterwards.
Right. I still think the workout's got to be a nice trail run on the old North Downs, maybe climbing up those Box Hill steps, running over to the lime kilns at Betchworth and up to Reigate. Maybe go down and come back via the Green Sand Way. There's a nice thing you can make for food that's, because we've got vegetarian influence here, is this kind of Asian spice kedgeree, which just nice. Rice and nice Asian seasonings. Could put fish in it if you want, but don't have to. It can just stay strictly veg. I think something like that can be nice to eat. It's not too hot either. It's just a pleasant thing to eat after a run.
Bit of spice, bit of carbs, bit of protein. I would be all over that. It's Instagram story music time, Darla. Yeah, each week we share the podcast over on Instagram. You get to choose our Instagram story music. What's it going to be?
Oh, it's got to be something from Kraftwerk. Let's say Trans-Europe Express from Kraftwerk.
Classic.
Love that. You can run
you're saying that. It's like you know them.
I've heard of Kraftwerk. Yeah, I went to our college.
There's also the music they did for cycling. They're great cycle fans.
So. Yeah, Tour de France, classic. Yeah.
But Trans-Europe Express, that's sufficiently weird and continuum-based. Yeah.
If it's in Instagram, if it's part of their catalogue, we will do that, Darla. Fantastic.
Darla, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
It's a pleasure.
What a joy to spend an hour or so just hearing some of your story I don't know and learning a little bit more. And I know I could just envisage people, which I know is what you love to do, is when you're running and sitting at home, as you do so much visualization. And I could just see people running along the trails and thinking the effect your words would have on a lot of people, and perhaps anybody that's suffering or knows those that are suffering with cancer will be really inspired by your words. But not just that, as well, is that your whole story, and that to you age is nothing. It's a number, and that's all that it is, and that you're still going to go and still got dreams, aspirations. There's no limit. And I love that you're just like, right, yeah, I'm going to do this. But there's no fear as well, that yes, you've got your anxieties, but there's no fear of like, well, what happens if it doesn't work out? And you're like, well, I'll have had a great time enjoying the process of training and trying to do this as much as the race itself, which is such an inspiration in itself. So we will be following your journey. Obviously, I'm personally invested, but I'm sure as a podcast as well, everybody now will be following your journey, and especially into your dabble into, I don't know where that's come from, dabble into a 200 miler, hanging around with the wrong crowd, Darla, hanging around with the wrong. But best of luck to everything this year. We look forward to hopefully coming on after that 200, telling us all about it and the crazy hallucinations. So thank you so much. Big kisses.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks
Darla.
to both of you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Darla, for coming on the podcast, giving up your time. Good luck with everything. Keep us posted. You're going to have a lot more fans on the trails following your race progress as we go through the year as well.
Thank you, Harriet Trail Running, for sponsoring our Strava Club and Tales from the Trails. Harriet is the UK's largest growing brand for trail runners, providing specialist kit designed for superior fit, comfort and function and the best customer support. Check them out for race vests, waterproofs, poles and other trail essentials at www.harrietrunfree.co.uk, where you can also download your free copy of How to Run an Ultra guide. Use the code TEA10, that's all caps T10, for 10% off site-wide, and check out their brilliant trail bundles for a special 20% off. Have you got the Lomond insulated jacket as well,
Got
Eddie?
it right here, tucked into my chair.
Well, I went for the ladies fit. I'm 5'6".
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I really don't like things baggy on me.
And that female figure you have as well. Just sits on your hips a bit better.
It's under 80 quid. So if you're thinking about doing a race like Dragon's Back race, I'm pretty sure the Northern Traverse has it too. You will be asked to have a hooded synthetic insulated layer that weighs at least 300 grams. That is based on a size medium. So if you're bigger than that, then it should be over 300 grams. If you're smaller than that, under 300 grams. And I know that's like, my goodness me, it's such a hot topic. So this is toasty and it's great value for money. My lady small comes in at 355 grams on the scales. Yeah, it's great value for money. And at 355 grams for that ladies small, it hits that weight target too. Yeah, I've been super impressed. I've never needed it to use it in like an emergency situation, so which is good. I don't want to be up on the high fells getting blasted by all the elements, but for under 80 quid, yeah, it's a great bit of kit. First up in the Strava Club is Carl Morgan. 75 miles for the week with the longest run of 19 miles, 2,551 feet of race-specific long run hill session following the Runner app training plan by the looks of it. Looks like Carl has a dog and he likes Star Wars too. Legend. Good luck with Newport Marathon, Carl. Vin Baker next, 90.9 miles with the longest route. I know, that's a lot of volume. 20.7 miles longest run, 6,834 feet. Hills, tempo, long run. I'm not saying you didn't do any strength work, Vin.
My God.
Well, I couldn't see it on Strava. Like, I will literally record every step I do. Some
You
people
will,
don't.
you will, yeah.
Yeah. But 90 miles for the week, though, with a 20-mile long run. And I think, if I've got this right, I think Vin won the Leeds to Liverpool canal race last year. Last up, Zoe Gulliver. 58.1 miles for the week, 13.2 long run, 8,036 feet of vert. Some great activity titles on Strava. I'm so lazy. It's like morning run. I might put a little emoji of Rex. Strength. I do get a bit kind of with the deets of this session, but other than that, yeah. But it is great to see that obviously some people take some time. Good mix, body pump, social miles, on the bike, yoga. It looked like a great week. And it looks like Zoe is a real community runner. Lots of smiles over on Strava. Tales from the trails.
Hello, I'm a bit behind schedule, but just listened to episode 106 and wanted to respond to a discussion prompted by listener John. And I think the general tone was people were worried that he wasn't going to get all the nutrients in. So we had a message from, this is from Rachel, and she wants to encourage him. So I love that. She's a vegan runner for ethical reasons and can promise it's super easy to get the right nutrition. The UK is a great place to be vegan. It is actually. Gosh, the choices I can get, my Tesco delivery of vegan choices, vegetarian choices is incredible compared to my experience in France. I get my protein from tofu and tempeh, lots of ready-to-eat options in the major supermarkets, soy milk and yogurt, lentils, peas and beans, vegan meat alternatives, seitan. You can easily batch make your own whole grain seeds and nuts, etc. Plenty of vegetables for a good amount of protein too. Plus, the above protein sources are also good sources of all those important complex carbs, healthy fats, and fiber. Mid and post-run fueling is the same as everyone else. Sweeties on the go, big mugs of tea, and cake to finish. She wanted to give a shout out to anyone thinking about going vegan or even just veganish, a bit like I am. It's totally doable. All the big supermarkets cater to vegans now, and there's great options for bulk buying from Asian supermarkets and online whole food stores as well. That's how I buy all my nuts. More they look, the more you'll find, and the internet is chock full of recipes and information. Finally, I'm also signed up for the World Rangers Way 50k by Ultra Trails on 19th of April. Hope John's training is going well, and maybe we'll see each other there and we can chat about our favourite vegan recipes for fueling. Love the podcast. Great to have your silly yet informative banter keeping me company on long runs. Keep up the good work, Rachel. Silly? What's she saying? Naked sauna tenting isn't for everybody?
5-star review. I'm not a podcast person, but this one is brilliant. I met Jenny, the Invictus lady, when she was helping at a race, and we chatted, and then I ended up listening to her episode. On one side, finished laughing and crying and loving it. I then listened to more episodes, and now I'm hooked. I thought running podcasts were for real life proper runners, but you guys have made me realise that I'm actually a real life proper runner, even though I end up at the back in races. Love it. Everybody should listen. Exactly, Kelly. Everybody should listen. Thanks for that, Kelly Price. It's a dangerous game, listening to podcasts. The ones I enjoy the most are podcasts that I've had, say, recommendations. Rest is Politics. The rest is Classified. Have you listened to that one? That is incredible. It's all like CIA and MI5 and that kind of stuff. Very, very good. We love your reviews, and it really does help the podcast grow and pop up on other trail runners' feeds. Please pop over to iTunes or Spotify and leave a 5-star review.
Competition. Thanks, Protein Rebel, for bringing us home. Talking of bringing us home, on Michael McIntyre was the two men. What are their names? Alfie.
What a shocking choice of TV. Oh, my God.
You don't like a bit of Michael McIntyre? There's you that was watching something with 20-foot penises. I don't think you have a foot to stand on, basically.
Edgy, grown up.
That's not edgy. That's just dirty soft porn you're watching while you're on the treadmill. Anyway, sorry, Protein Rebel. Whether you're trying to get a PB, training for your first ultra, or going for your Lakeland Hundreds, oh God, we know who wrote this. Your Lakeland 100 slate, Protein Rebel. Products are easy to digest with no artificial additives.
Your fourth 200 miler.
Providing both performance and overall health benefits. I cannot wait to get some voice messages from you at mile 70 of the Northern Traverse, and you go, no, Eddie, it's not possible, can't do it. No, nobody can do this far.
Nobody.
I
will not call anybody. I will zero phone calls on a race. That's a hard red line. I will not do that. That's a hard
red line. I absolutely bet you will be lost somewhere in a bog, and you'll be like, I'm totally lost. But if he does call anyone, nobody pick up, because you said you're not calling anybody.
That'll show him. That'll show him.
What the hell, Leonard? What's this?
Well, I looked at your time for Northern Traverse, 72 hours. Roughly, if you were taking a couple of gels an hour, that's 1140 gels.
We all know I like to do these races on
God.
Negative calories.
Can you imagine all that maple syrup? It would be sensational.
If you'd want to try, why don't you, if you want to try 140 Protein Rebel gels, use the code TEA10 for 15% off your first order. To celebrate the lovely Lewis Ryan winning the 2025 Arc of Attrition by UTMB, we've teamed up with Scarpa to offer an incredible Instagram giveaway.
It's coming. We have another Lewis Ryan interview. We've got Darla this week.
Darla.
Lewis next week.
We are backlogged in Tea and Trails Towers, aren't we? We've got some great interviews coming your way. So you've got that to look forward to. We are offering one person a chance to win a pair of their Spin STs. To be in the running for this incredible prize, just go over to Instagram, like the post, share the post to your stories, follow at Tea and Trails and at Scarpa UK, and in the comments say what your favourite trail is. This is such a popular competition, and I love when we get those notifications of just like seeing what people's favourite trails are. Terms and conditions apply. This competition closes midnight on 23rd 3rd of February 2025. This competition is for Instagram only. Winners will be contacted by direct message. UK only. Oh, plus 18 years, we can't enter. Never gets old, that one. Right, come on then. Come on then. Tell me what you're planning. You've been quite mean today. You're a bit tired. You're a bit crabby, aren't you?
I am very tired. This is the price you pay for doing a session in the gym before you sit down and record.
Normally you can take me. You can't. This is
take me. They are a great show because, yeah, like I said, Teen Trails Ultra, I hadn't told Rob the plan for this, but so it could be 17 miles on the Saturday and 22 miles on the Sunday. So and like 5,000 feet of earth plus on both days. But yeah, these shoes would be awesome on the sloppy, muddy descents and the climbs, but on those hard packed trails.
I think you'd be fine up to 20 miles. I think it's when you're getting on to 80, 90 that you start looking for.
I think when you weigh it all up, what would be most frustrating, kind of coming off sticks pass on my arse, skidding down that descent there, or actually staying on my feet.
You're always on your ass anyway. I've never run with you where you whatever training you've got on, you cannot stay upright. Anyway.
Yeah, because I've got such an incredible core. I would have thought that would have get stabilised.
I know, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I think it's the weight of your butt cheeks probably that is weighing you down.
Thank you very much for that. But I'm feeling a bit tired. I think that's just the hangover from the DIY. My legs are so tired and my back is hurting. I must have foam rolled for like 30 minutes on Sunday evening.
God. You know, you shouldn't foam roll on damaged muscles already.
Feels better. My experiment on myself. On the weekend, though, got a really jam-packed weekend. So we're going over to the lakes, going to Ambleside, and we're going to watch Shane Orley's Dragon FKT, where he did the Dragon's Back route in a one. And there's going to be a screening on Saturday night. So myself and my wingman, Robbo, we're going to light up the town.
Are you? You're going to go?
It's full sports casual. We'll have our Walsh trainers on, jeans.
Yeah, sunglasses, and Robert's going to go, just keep back, everybody. Just keep back. He's not doing interviews. He's not signing anything. And you're going to have a screen. Special. You, pretty lady, you can come through.
What is the sports casual look? So you're going to have trainers on that would say,
it's basically what our
action.
teenage boys wear, isn't it?
But the trainers have to be correct. So I've got some Walsh trainers. They're not fell shoes.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, see, Walsh, you like your old school fell shoes. So if you're in the know, you'll get a little nod from certain people. He knows what he's doing, this guy. But then you go jeans. Am I too old for skinny jeans?
Oh.
And then I'll probably go with a fleece, like a Berghaus fleece. So again, it's like, he's the man of action. He knows what he's on about.
He's a man of action.
I might even top it up with my Patagonia cap just to...
Oh my God, this is incredible. Please get Robert to send me pictures. And when you're watching Shane Orley's movie, I want you to remind yourself that you're going to be putting yourself into this state over at Northern Traverse next year. And when you plead, I will not be making any phone calls. It will be fine.
What about yourself? That is what's coming up for me.
Well, what have I got coming up? I'm going to do another treadmill session. I am going to go off. I have cleared my diary tomorrow. Not yet. I haven't actually cleared it yet. I need to work tonight to clear my diary for tomorrow. And me and the dogs, we've got a full day. I don't have any school drop-offs, pickups. So children here, I've planned a 26-mile loop. Now, I've been slightly scuppered because we've got quite a lot of snow here. But if I pack my bag appropriately, we'll be fine. I'll take my spikes. And hopefully I'm going to have to go slow because Tarka's 11 now. That's quite a long way for her to go. And there's no get out once we're in the loop. She's coming the whole way. So we'll be like jog, hiking. I'm really looking forward to that. A couple of flasks of tea in my backpack. And
is there
sandwiches.
a cafe stop somewhere?
There is a cafe, but I'm not pinning hopes on it, Gary, because I know, but this is February in Scotland, so it could not be open. So it's on my map. It could be, and so if it's not open, I'm telling myself it's not open, and then if it is open,
oh yes, I see.
Yeah, and then I'm just going to stay in my sweaty tent. It is starting to smell a little bit again. I've had to move it out of my office while we record this because there's a slight smell. But I'm just.
Can you poke your legs out too and walk around?
No, you just got to sit in your little camping stool in it. Slowly, your butt cheeks get sweatier and sweatier. But I'm gonna. The protocol is like 5 to 7 days, but I'm loving it. I think am I at my 7th day? God, I should keep a record of this, shouldn't I? What day are we on? When? Tuesday. I've done it 5 days. 5 days, 6 days. So I'm going to keep going. I'm loving it.
You should reach out. Could be a Patreon perk.
I don't
You're like
think
a
I can
serious
recommend
influencer,
this. Recommend the sweaty tent. I'm going to keep going though and see if I start to feel any benefits of that. I might transfer it into some hot, sweaty running on the treadmill, but that is only stuff that people can dream of. So yeah, that's my week. Nothing major. Keep it up. Oh, and I've got a sports massage, Gary. That comes around every few weeks. I know you don't do this, but oh my God. I find it really helps because my IT bands get so tight and my back and everything. It really helps. But also it's such a sacrosanct, is that the right word? Hour where nobody... And so if I don't want to talk, he doesn't talk. And I can just lie there. Nobody can get me. And I feel a bit brutalized afterwards, but it really helps me. So I don't mind spending that little bit of money on that session as well, because it keeps my functioning old body together. Oh, what a week. What a week to go. What a week to come.
Good luck, everybody, out on the trails this weekend. Send in your pictures. I love seeing all your pictures. Big shout out, to everybody who shared the pictures, and especially Graham and Shane on a Northern Traverse Recce sporting, matching tea and trails snood. And tune in, Graham. It'll be your question soon. Brew the coaches.
Thanks for listening. My goodness me, we've had some twittering on this podcast this week. We hope you... Sorry, I went on a bit about the sauna tent, but honestly, I was really enjoying it. And I think it just shows the sad mundanity of my life that it has been the highlight. Please do share this episode, the pod, share the love, pop over to Instagram, Facebook and YouTube, subscribe, or even consider, even if it's just for a month, becoming an awesome Patreon. Thanks to MMus Precision Fuel Hydration, Phoenix Light UK, Harrier Trail Running and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. Here are the customer discount codes. Get out your pencils. T10 for SHOKZ, T15 for Protein Rebel, and all caps lock Tea Time 2025 for Precision Fuel Hydration, T10 for Harrier Trail Running. Thanks to our partners and patrons. We couldn't do this without you and your ongoing support.
Let the trail rise to meet you and the wind always be on your back. Be kind to future self. Breathe and believe. Progress, not perfection. My name is Gary Thwaites.
I love you, Gary. I feel like I've irritated you this episode, but what have
you have.
I'm Eddie Sutton. And that was episode 109 of the Tea and Trails podcast.
That was my bit. You finished it.
Oh, well,
Shocking. That is like dodgy messages. Now you're taking over the script. I'm going to write this all down.
Well, we've already got to go to HR anyway, haven't we? Because I violated the code between us of no naked selfies after you sent that particular one.
Imagine if that was the other way around. If you were in a proper job where you had to...
I didn't really send you a naked selfie. I just said... I know it's bad, isn't it? Well, you could have me fired. Well, feel free, honestly. Who would you have replace me?
That's 50% of the workforce going in.
Who would you have replace me? Just like next week I've gone and it would just be you and people would be like, what's happened to Eddie? And you'd be like, she was well dodged. People would never find out the story, but it would get out there. Who would you have then? Who do you get to come in?
Trish would come in.
I knew. She's your one true love. We all know that.